everyone. Today I have someone very special with me today. This is Lenka. She is my friend and coworker and is also an amazing product manager. She has a lot of experience in product management. I'm so excited to have her here today with me. As product management is a growing field with more and more people interested in it, I wanted to sit down and chat with Lenka to share more about her personal journey to product management, tips for breaking in, advice for people who are early in their product management careers, and more. But before we dive into all of that, let's get started on introductions. Lenka, can you introduce yourself?
Yeah, of course. Hello, everyone. My name is Lenka Huang, and thank you, Melody, for having me here today. I am a lead product manager working for one of the most popular slot games at Zynga, and I have experience launching products in consumer technology, fintech, and data analytics before.
Yeah, thanks so much for the wonderful introduction, Lenka. So, to kick this off, I'd like to first say, from what I've observed and talking to different product managers, I've noticed everyone has very different stories on how they got into product management. So, I would love to first
Mhm.
ask you, can you share your personal journey to product management?
Yeah, of course, happy to. So I, in general, kind of have a technical or like quantitative background. So I started out as a data analyst or data scientist working for Moody's. So I was doing a lot of analytic stuff for a few of the Moody's enterprise products. And then after a couple of years, I figured I wanted to try product management, just having like a bigger impact on the business side of things. So I pivoted internally into product management. And then I basically joined some sort of like incubation team within Moody's and started working on one of the really new products. And that's basically, where I actually got into PM. And then afterwards, after accumulating some years of like experiences within Moody's, I eventually joined another startup in gaming, and then joined the Zynga, and then joined the Meta, and now Zynga. So that's kind of my journey.
Yeah, thank you for sharing your journey to product management. It's also really interesting to hear about your quantitative and data analytics background. Can you talk more about how these experiences shape the type of product manager you are today?
Sure, yeah. So I guess like early on in my career, and also just like academically, having that sort of quantitative and technical background does make me feel like in general more comfortable with data when it comes to like analyzing insights through data, or even like building models sometimes to help with better decision making. So that gives me kind of the confidence sometimes to like dig into the data and being able to tell stories from it, which is really important for like most, if not all, of the PM positions or like product teams. Yeah, so I would say that's kind of one way my background in analytics kind of helped me to become the PM that I am today.
Yeah, it's really cool to hear how you felt your data analytics background helped you a lot as a product manager. Do you think you can give some recommendations on how a product manager can learn more about data analytics?
Um, yeah, I think I would have to say that there is kind of no shortcut when it comes to like data analytics. And it's actually not really like that challenging to learn and be very good at, even when you don't really have, don't necessarily have like a technical or quantitative background. I would say just like try to find projects within your company, or even like if I don't know, your friends are doing some interesting products that need some data analytics work, and then you could totally just volunteer to get the experience that you need. I think it's really important. So just doing projects, and then also, I think also just like be curious about what's going on. So say if you are a product manager already, and then you really wanted to understand how your customers, how your users are interacting with your product, and if your product is like making money or not, just like ask questions and then try to just think about what answers that you would be able to get from the data itself, and just try it out. So, like one common tool that PMs use is SQL, right? And then sometimes like Tableau. And these tools, like they're not like that complicated to learn. I think what's really more important is for you to like know what questions to ask and actually follow through with trying to get the answers, either like by yourself or by like asking other people and working with others in general. So I would say that would be my advice.
Yeah, I really love your advice, especially about asking other people for help and being really curious. I think that's something that's very important. So now I wanted to ask my next question. What recommendations do you have for people like you who didn't start their career in product management but really would love to pivot into it?
Hmm. Honestly, I feel like I got asked that question a lot because like PM has becoming more and more like a kind of a popular job on the market, right? And recently, so yeah, I do have a few things that I would recommend. So I think the most important thing, actually, the first thing, is to you really should try to understand the position itself and what it means to be a PM as much as possible before you make a decision to just like move into it because there are pros and cons, right? When it comes to like being like product manager, and you kind of need to decide for yourself whether you would be a good fit or not, whether you would be happy being a PM or not. I would say that's actually maybe the most important thing that you need to think about before you make the move. And then second of all, there are a lot of different kinds of product managers on the market too. So, there's like growth product manager, and then there are product managers focusing more on the consumer side or on the platform side, infrastructure side, or even like a back end. So the next thing I would say, you need to figure out what kind of PMs you want to be because the responsibilities and the scope and experience required can vary a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And then next, I would say what's really important after you figure those things out is to really network with PMs from your target industry, your target company, and try to learn from their experience. And also just, try to learn more about this thing that you're imagining in your head, and then just try to figure out exactly what it's like. And then also just build that network and community so that you can get, well, practically speaking, right, you can get like referred, and you can get like interview opportunities as well. And then eventually you want to find out what's really missing from your resume, right, to compete for any like in PM positions that you're interested in, and then start looking for like opportunities, even like within your company. Because I think doing like an internal transition, when there aren't a lot of job opportunities, let's assume on the market would actually be a really, really good option. Because like you're already familiar with the people, with the products, hopefully. So people are a little bit more, I guess, like open to considering someone who doesn't really have any prior PM experiences when you are just making like the internal transition, and also maybe do some projects voluntarily, which would put you at a like position that's similar to like a PM. So it's all just about like trying to build your resume for it to become like PM ready. So
Yeah, that
something
sounds
like those
really
are,
good.
yeah.
Yeah, so
Mhm.
because you have personal experience with the internal transfer from another position into product management, how would you go
Mm.
about that? And how would you also go about building your network of product managers for someone who's completely new to product management?
Yeah. Okay. So two questions, right? So first one, how would you go about getting kind of like an internal transfer to a PM within your own company? So this one, you do need to do it carefully. So I think first of all, what's really important is to build a really, really healthy and a good positive relationship with your boss, with your manager, because eventually that they need to support your decision, and they sometimes also need to be your advocate. With a new team. So that's really important. And then when you feel like, okay, you have earned their trust and then you have a very good rapport going on, then I recommend you be like kind of course, like each company and each team is different. But then when you can, you could be kind of transparent and honest with your current leadership and express that, well, you actually wanted to explore some other opportunities, but then you would still love to, stay within the company and make contributions. And then hear what they say. Because I actually like from my personal experience and also just a lot of my friends' experience, you'll be surprised at how just nice people actually are, especially when it comes to when you are being really honest and transparent, I guess, with them. So, and they can even give you like advice. And then internally, you also need to network with other teams who potentially have opening or have like positions, right? So that's and then one thing that you should pay attention to is that those relationships do take time to build. So like whenever you start a new job, you probably should be doing those things already with the end goal in mind, at least, with the end direction in mind a little bit. That would make later on when you feel like you're ready to make the move a lot easier. If that makes sense. Yeah. And as for like the second question you're asking, how to build like the community,
Network of product managers.
how to network with product managers. So there are many ways really. Like I think there are a lot of like PM groups right now. For example, like Women in Product is an awesome one. So just try to connect with those groups and then go to some group events. If you're like super new, say like you just don't know any PMs, I would try to go online and find those groups and then just start talking to people. And then I think looking for like alumni is another really effective way to go. Even when you just like cold email or cold email people on LinkedIn, if you guys are alumni, then a lot of times you actually get like some response back, and you get to talk to them, and you can get a lot of advice, and then eventually build that connection over time. So those are all like very good ways. But I think we're not really strangers to those ideas, but it just takes a lot of like execution, right, and discipline to actually do it consistently over time. Then I think that's what would take you to a place where you feel like, oh yes, I feel like I have a network of PMs who could support me for either like career changes or just like for helping you overcome some challenges at job.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely resonate a lot with your advice on the networking. Like, I remember when I was recruiting for my very first product management internship, I was like, oh no, I don't know any product managers personally. So I actually went on LinkedIn and I just searched product manager. And then I first looked through people from my school. But then if there were companies where there weren't people from my school who worked there, I actually just ended up cold invitations or cold emails if their email was on their profile.
Yeah, exactly. I think, Melanie, that's a great example. Like the world is warm. I think a lot of times like people are way more friendly than you imagined, I guess. So just be kind of brave and reach out.
Yeah, definitely. So now I wanted to go on to my next question, which is, what advice do you have for people who just began their product management career? And I actually think this will also apply to me as well, because I'm new to my product management career, but also a lot of new grads who just started this, or even just people who are interested in going into it. Yeah.
Yeah, great question. And I'm glad that you're asking this right now already. I guess my biggest advice would be to actually find mentors like inside and outside of your organization, which I think, Melanie, is something that you're doing. So that's great. Yeah, I think everybody needs mentors. So I would encourage you to actively look for mentors. First of all, like within your team, within your company, and then also just like in your industry. And then really like proactively try to maintain that kind of mentorship relationship. This is something that's actually hard to get. Because when it comes to like people's time, it's always limited. Then how do you really like find a mentor who's willing to like spend time with you and share their very precious experience with you? Because those experiences, those insights are really, really valuable. Right. So definitely like focus on that and make some efforts there. And then I think second thing I would do if you just began your product management career is to talk regularly to product leadership of your company and just ask questions. So they could be like one-on-ones, and also note that a lot of companies, they actually have like office hours, right? And then leaders will be on rotation to like talk to people, and then you can potentially like even schedule one-on-one time with them. So I think those are all great opportunities that you should use. Don't be afraid. Don't think that, oh, I'm too new or I'm too junior. I think the earlier that you get into the habit of actually talking to the leadership of the company, the faster you would grow. And then that also actually helps you a lot with your visibility too in front of those leaders. And I guess the second thing So I'm talking kind of like high level here, huh? But but I do think those are important. So the third thing I would probably do is to think about from the very first beginning how you can best contribute to your team or your company's top priorities like frequently. So when you are a new PM, like usually you get assigned projects, tasks, right, features. So you don't really, let's just be honest, you don't really have a lot of say in what you do. But it doesn't mean that you shouldn't be thinking about, okay, if I had the freedom, what kind of things do I think make sense for me to do? Because one day those would be really, really helpful. In in like conversations, in brainstorms, and then in taking opportunities. So this is something that I would recommend as well.
Yeah, this is really good advice. And I think this also ties into your point earlier about the world being warm and it's okay. Like, don't be scared, reach out to people.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, what's the worst that could happen, right?
Yeah, for sure. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So, leading into my next question, what are some things you learned from being a product manager over these past few years? You may have already answered this, but just expanding on it, and what are things you would recommend? What are things you would recommend changing?
Wow. Well, personally, I actually think my profession as a product manager kind of changes my personal life a little. So I can explain. So basically, because like to be a PM, you kind of have to be really organized, right? You need to be very organized. You need to be very goal oriented, and you need to think hardly about about like ROI, return on investment. So I feel like I do take these mindsets into my personal life, and in very good ways too. You know, like whenever like I make, I try to make decisions, I kind of try to, I try to follow the PM framework as well. You know, try to think about things from both sides, and to think about okay, like okay, how much am I investing in this thing, and how much benefits or like what do I want out of it, and if that makes sense. And also on the other side, it's the organization and execution set of things too, right? And whenever I have a personal goal, I do find myself like sitting down and making plans, and then just making sure that I hit each milestone and to track my progress over time as well. So so that's kind of a nice thing to have in your personal life. So it kind of just makes you, I guess, a better person, a more disciplined person in that sense, which I'm really grateful for. So that's definitely one thing that, you know, like being a PM, the past few years, has bettered me. Sorry, what was the second part of your question?
Yeah, I believe the second part of my question are just what are things you would recommend from the past few years of being a product manager, and what are things you would, recommend like keeping the same, like from what you learned?
For like job stuff, for
I think,
like
yeah, just as a product manager, like you think things that you learned from that you wouldn't recommend to someone starting out, but things that you would
I
recommend keeping
see
the same. Yeah.
things that I wouldn't recommend. So one thing that's really important if you're just starting out is to like not make a lot of assumptions about what a PM does when you join like a new team and a new company. Because I think how product development works and the scope for PMs or responsibilities for PMs, they actually do vary a lot, even within a company, like depending on different teams. So what you should do instead is to really ask for clarification, right? Think questions like, okay, as a PM here specifically, what is the expectation, right? What are my responsibilities? And for our team, how do we write product documents? How do we write specs? How do we work with designers or like engineers? I think all these questions, whenever you start with a new team, you need to ask again and don't make assumptions. Because like protocols are different and they do really like influence how people work and how people consider your work as well. So I guess that's one thing that I think people should be really aware of. And things I would always recommend. I feel like I kind of talked about it a little bit already just now.
I think you
just
did
like
too.
just like
But that
ask
was really good
questions,
advice.
talk to people.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And I think actually before I move on to my next question, I just wanted to say I actually do resonate a lot what you said about being a product manager seeping into your personal life as well. It'll probably ring even more true the longer I am as a product manager, but I think just from preparing for all those product management interviews when I was going through that recruiting process, I feel like sometimes when I'm using products on a day-to-day basis, I just can't help but start like thinking of ideas and stuff like that. And I feel like I didn't
Yeah.
like have that as much before I, started knowing I wanted to become a product manager.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. Yeah, I think how you think at work definitely influences how you think just in general as well, right? And what
Mhm.
you think on a daily basis as well. Yeah, which is cool.
It's really
No
cool.
complaints
Yeah.
there. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So I guess some of my final few questions is how do you define product management? I think I asked this because a lot of people have different ways of
Mm,
explaining what product management is. So I'd love to hear your definition of it.
sure. Yeah, this question gets asked a lot too.
Hmm.
I'm afraid my definition is a rather dry one.
It's okay. It's still
Because
your
I would love to,
definition.
yeah.
And I don't think it's
So I
dry.
would
If it's your definition, it's a definition.
yeah, thank you. So it's so in my understanding, I think product managers are just leaders of a very product-centric organization. So what they do is they make sure the company is able to build the right things for their customers, build them effectively and efficiently, and then also make sure that the products actually generate profits for the company.
Hmm.
So I know that that's kind of still kind of abstract, right? So to be a little bit more specifically, there are just a few like main things a product manager actually does. So for example, we define what to build, like from determining like product strategy, creating a roadmap to like generating product specifications, and sometimes even like user experience flows, and leading the engineering team to build the product itself. But I do want to point out one thing here though, which is at different levels, APM's responsibilities vary a lot. So that means like definition of of a product manager also varies a lot. For example, when you are just starting out, you'll be doing a lot of the analytics again, right? And
Hmm.
execution kind of stuff. But when you progress in your career, you would have some autonomy in determining like exactly what to build and how to build for like a feature within a product. And then maybe
Hmm.
later on at a leadership level, you might get to decide the overall product strategy, right, for an entire product. So I think set the right expectations is very important when you're at like different points throughout your career, and just, as well just like always trying to learn along the way.
Yeah, yeah. I didn't think the definition was dry at all. It was a really, really good
Oh,
explanation. I really
oh,
liked it.
thank you, thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So thank you so much for your time, Lenka. As a wrap up, is there anything else you would like to share to anyone who is watching this or interested in product management?
Yeah, so I think one thing I would like to say is just there are so many different paths leading to product management, and then if you're interested, I just really encourage you to try to just go for it. It's definitely not something impossible to do, regardless of your background, as long as you put in the time and efforts.
Yeah, I really, really love this. That's awesome. By the way, everyone, Lenka has an amazing career coaching service that you should all check out. The link is in the video description, but Lenka is really amazing product manager, but also she has a lot of amazing insights to share. So everyone, please go check it out.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Well, thank you
Yeah.
so much, Lenka, for spending the time to talk to me today. I feel like I learned so much from talking to you, and I'm sure a lot of people who are interested in product management, a lot of students, a lot of people who want to pivot, or a lot of people who are early in their career as a product manager like me are going to learn so much. So, thank you so much again for your time.
Yeah, appreciate it, Melody. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. Well, thank you everyone for watching. Until next time, bye.
Bye.
Thank you, Lenka, again for your time. More links in the comments and video description below. Thank you all so much for watching. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Feel free to subscribe if you're interested in seeing more videos I make. I'm a Taiwanese American who makes videos about my life and things I learned along the way. I plan on making more tech career advice videos. Check out the ones I've uploaded already. They're all linked in the video description and comments below. Thank you all again for your support. Until next time, bye!